Hello, Explorer. Welcome along. It's time to explore the entire universe in record time. Let's do it quick as a flash. It's a brand new Fun Kids Science Weekly. My name's Dan. We are searching out all of those science secrets. This week, we'll discover how animals turn their bodies into deadly weapons.
You have some animals that can make their own poison. So some types of toad, like a cane toad, they secrete like a really sticky, milky thing from special glands along their back and behind their eyes, which is really toxic.
In Battle of the Sciences, we'll explore the hidden code of life with chronobiologist Dr. Timothy Hearn.
So the clocks inside our body are individual to us, so that everyone runs on a slightly different time to each other, and we also run at slightly different time at different ages.
And for our Dangerous Dan, we're searching the meadows across North America for deadly plants. It's on the way in a brand new Fun Kids Science Weekly. Let's start with your science in the news. Scientists are hoping that levitating magnets could be the key to spotting dark matter. Dark matter is the substance believed to be spread all over the universe, but we can't see it because it's dark. So experts think it might be made of ultra-light particles. If they come into contact with a magnet that's levitated, so there's no friction around, it might move the magnet slightly. So physicists from Texas and the Netherlands tried it, but spotted no movement. Never fear, they're going to get a bigger magnet and go again in the hope they can see something. That's what I love about science. We've got an idea, we're going to test it out, that's not worked, so let's go bigger. It's always about trying to find the right answer. That's why I love science. Also this week, experts say Gila monsters may be left behind by climate change. These are big lizards that are spotted with brown and sandy patches. It helps them blend into the Mojave Desert in America where they live. We've had Gila monsters on our Dangerous Dan list, actually. And now if the world heats up too much, they might have to move to cooler places, lower down the rocks where they live, but the weather there might be too harsh for them, and there might be not enough food for them to eat. And it makes you think about the climate change that impacts us so much and the decisions that we make and how that might have a big effect on different strange creatures that you never see. And for our final story this week, a lynx born in a zoo in Cornwall could become the first UK zoo-born cat to be successfully released into the wild. It's a female, been moved to Germany, where it will spend the next few months being monitored in an enclosure to see if it's up to the challenge. And this is rare. Let's find out why. With John Meek from Newquay Zoo, who went to Germany with the lynx. John, thank you for being there. So lynxes aren't the most common creature for us to know lots about. Just tell us all about the animal.
Yeah, this is a sort of medium-sized cat. You can tell a lynx because it's got a bobtail, so it hasn't got a long tail like most cats, and it's got pointed ears. So you can actually see the points of fluff at the top of the ears. So it's and they live. This particular species actually live mainly in Europe.
So I mentioned that this is rare. Why so? Why is it quite unusual for a lynx born in a zoo here to try and make it out in the wild in Germany?
Well, actually, because we have breeding programs for all these animals right throughout Europe, and we have to get the right genetics, which basically means that they have to be the right animal with the right mother and the right father, so they don't inbreed in the wild, so they don't breed with their cousins and things in the wild. So we've been breeding these for several years, and they wanted females, and we were very lucky to get a little girl, and they wanted females to release, and she happened to be the right genetics and at the right time, and it just landed nicely that they wanted to try see if she could release.
And what do you do in your zoo when you get the call? So you've got this young little female lynx, you know she's going to try and make it out in the wild. What do you do to kind of get her ready over here?
So there's been to begin with, we actually have to see whether she's already got those instincts, because it's a natural thing. You can't teach a cat to do it. So we did some studies to see whether she was instinctively curious and instinctively looks like she wants to hunt and various things like that. And then we had to do some health tests because we don't want to send her out to the wild with diseases that she could spread around, which she didn't have. And then it was really shipping her to Germany and see how she behaves in what is called a soft release pen. So that basically means she's in a big wooded area where she's going to be released, and she's just being what they call rewilded. So that is that she's getting used to being a wild cat again. And she's just basically put in a big pen and left alone.
When she's over in Germany, and if this kind of rewilding goes well, what happens to her after that? I mean, is she out in the wild?
Yes, absolutely. She'll be actually released into the probably into the Black Forest in Germany. There's other cats they're going to release as well. There's also some wild males are migrating through, but there's no females, and so that's why we had to put the girls out there so we can obviously get them breeding and have young lynx in the wild.
And you went over to Germany with the lynx there, John. Were you on the boat? Were you shipping her alongside?
No, she actually went across with a specific transport company. We had people that, very professional people that actually move these animals. I flew over and I met her there. So I wasn't actually on the boat with her. That was done by a separate company.
How high are your hopes that she's got what it takes?
Oh, very high. I think the interestingly, speaking to the people who release these cats over there, they were saying that the instincts are already there to hunt and to live in the wild. The instincts are already. We don't breed that out of these cats in captivity. They're already instinctively know how to hunt. But she just needs to make sure that she stays away from people, because we don't want her near houses or roads and things like that. So that's the key thing, is that she actually learns that people are something to avoid.
Now, the work that Nuki and other zoos do in conservation is clearly so vital for animals across the world, boosting these species, saving entire animals. But it must be brilliant for you to have this creature and to put it out there in the wild where it can live safely in its natural habitat.
Oh, it's the best thing in the world. It's what we do. I mean, it's what zoos have animals for people to come and see, but actually we also do all those animals on conservation breeding programs. So this is the ultimate. This is why we keep them. So when we have animals that are genetically correct, and if they're going to release a male, we have to have the right female, totally unrelated, all that kind of thing, then they can go back to the wild. But this is what we do it for, and so it's the best thing. Somebody asked me, was I sad to see her go? And absolutely not. I was really pleased for her that she's going to go and be a wild cat again. So it was a thrill.
If she's gone out there because there are no females, so they want her to breed and there to be more lynx, have they earmarked a male lynx that might be a good fit for her?
Yeah, so they've got they've got male lynx they're going to release as well, but they may well release them in different areas. It depends on the genetics. In some areas, male lynx, when they're old enough and they leave their parents, actually wander long distances, whereas females stay in one area. So the males can wander around and meet up with the females, but unfortunately in some areas there are no females, and that's the idea. And if they're not careful, what will happen is that the genetics will split, and you have small colonies of cats in the wild that are starting to inbreed. And so the idea of this is to create corridors of females, so all of these animals will mix and breed, but they'll be genetically better than they are at the moment.
Well, we wish her the best of luck. It's been a joy to chat to you all about it. John, Meek, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's get to your questions then. If you have anything sciencey that you would like answered on the podcast, about anything at all, as long as it's sciencey, make sure you leave it as a voice note for me on the free Fun Kids app or at funkidslive.com. I shall do the digging, and if I can't, I will give a call to an expert who will be able to uncover everything for you. First up this week from Lola in London, who's 7, who wants to know, where did water first come from? Well, Lola, water is H2O. That's its chemical symbol. So the elements it's made of, you've got 2 hydrogen atoms, H2, and then you've got 1 oxygen atom. When those are squashed together, you get water. Scientists think that where water first formed in the universe, after loads of hydrogen was made during the Big Bang, so right at the start. And oxygen is always being created by nuclear reactions in stars, and they meet in the cold of space. Especially right at the start after the Big Bang, when loads of stuff was going on, they think that's how water was first created. Now, on Earth, 71% of the planet's surface is water. Oceans hold 96.5% of all of our water. Although they aren't absolutely sure, scientists think that this water came to Earth from asteroids that kind of knocked into the planet when it was first being formed, and also by the dust and the gas that was left over after the sun was made. So when our planet was being formed, all the hydrogen and oxygen left over was drawn to it. It ended up forming into the ocean. It made water. That's the idea. Anyway, Lola, thank you so much for the question. Let's get on one now as a voice note. This is from Ruben. What do you have, Ruben?
My question is, how do animals make poison and where do they make poison?
Well, Ruben, thank you for your question. How do animals make poison? I love the word make there. It's like there's an intention that they want to be poisonous. But do they? Let's find out. Megan Howard is section head of reptiles at Cotswolds Wildlife Park. Megan, thank you for joining us. So, how do animals make poison?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. You have some animals that can make their own poison. So some types of toad, like a cane toad, they secrete like a really sticky, milky thing from special glands along their back and behind their eyes, which is really toxic. And then some things like poison dart frogs, they kind of borrow poisons from the things that they eat. So they eat like poisonous ants and little mites and bugs and stuff. And then they use the poison as if it's their own special thing. It's very clever.
Now, a strange thing in the wild is that bright colours mean something different. Right, Megan, isn't it? So, like a bright flower wants to attract creatures towards it. But I think for dangerous creatures, if they're bright, it normally means stay away because I don't want to have to sting you.
It does. It's really a really powerful warning, especially like bright yellows and oranges and stuff. They're really, really handy for warning things off. It says, don't eat me or don't come near me because I'll bite you.
When we talk about animals making poison, is it quite a big process for them?
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy for them. So it's often big chunky animals. So things like the cane toads that I mentioned earlier, because they're so big and large, they can use a lot of energy. They eat loads of stuff all the time and they use all that energy to put into defending themselves. So making things like the poisons.
You mentioned two different types of how animals make poisons, but how similar are all of the poisons across the animal kingdom? Do they do like a more or less the same thing? Do they work in different ways? What do we know?
They do. They're often fairly similar. So poisons are to do with being eaten. So you have to absorb it into your body somehow. So sometimes it's from just touching them. Sometimes it is from eating the animal. Usually they make you feel sick. They make you all sweaty. But some things can really affect like different parts of your body as well. So sometimes it affects your whole nervous system. Sometimes it gives you like rashes and makes you irritated. So it does. It depends on the animal, the different types of poison and how it's made.
Now, it's obviously quite gruesome to talk about this because poison has done quite bad things to a lot of different animals and people. But what's your favourite animal and poison?
Ooh, it would have to be the poison dart frogs, just because they're so small and kind of cute, even though they are really dangerous. And some of them, scientists have extracted the poison from different types of poison dart frogs, and they've started trying to use them in medicine. So some of them can be used for painkillers and all sorts. So it's really, really interesting.
I was talking on this show only recently about the blue poison dart frog, and it looks like something from outer space. It's stunning.
Oh, they're gorgeous. They're really pretty.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Ruben, that's how animals make poison. Quite a lot of the time, they might borrow it from other beasts. Megan Howard, thank you for joining us.
No problem. No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
If you have anything sciencey that you want answered, make sure you leave it as a voice note on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com. I have a question for you. Do you have your ticket yet for Fun Kids Science Weekly Live? I hope so. I really cannot wait. We did our first live show a few years ago now. We did a one-off, and it was so special, so spectacular. I've spent like 3 years trying to make it even better so we can take it on tour, and I think I've managed it. Fun Kids Science Weekly Live is coming to towns and cities all around the UK. We will have experiments. Many of them smart, some slimy, a few very disgusting. Also, deadly beasts. Experts there answering your questions, and something from space crash landing onto the stage with us. and you might be able to touch it and get a photo with it too as well. We'll do selfies, we'll do high fives. If you love the show, I can't wait to see you there. Find out where I'm playing near you for Fun Kids Science Weekly Live. Get your tickets, get a grown up, go to funkidslive.com/tour. It's time for this week's Dangerous Dan, where we search out some of the most weird, mean, unique and deadly things in the universe. And we're headed to the meadows of North America to take a look at a pretty cream-coloured plant that has a deadly bulb. The death camas looks like any normal plant, and that's the problem. Creamy petals spread out around a stamen that juts into the air. They grow about 50 centimetres, half a metre tall. They flower in the spring. Their bulbs have many dry outer layers that fan outwards. They peel away. That's important because it means they look like wild onion, wild garlic. Now that's a herb that grows all around North America, and people forage for it. People go out, they'll pick it, they might use it in soups as food. But the problem is, because the death camas looks so alike, sometimes people pick that, and that's when things go wrong. All parts of this plant are highly toxic, especially the bulbs. The plant has got zygosine in it. It's a neurotoxin which gets to work on your nervous system. Eating it will make you sick. It can slow your heartbeat right down. It makes you twitch, retch, and even causes death. Yet it looks so normal and delicious. And that's why it's got its name, and that's why the death camas goes straight onto our Dangerous Dan list. For this week's Battle of the Sciences, where we try to officially discover what is the greatest science ever, we're learning about a science I've never even heard of before. And that's rare because it's a very cool word. Chronobiology. Telling us why that's the greatest science, Dr. Tim Hearn from University of Cambridge joins us. Tim, thank you for being there. You have 1 minute to tell us why chronobiology is the greatest of them all. That minute starts in 3, 2, 1, go!
Hi, I'm a scientist who studies how your body knows what time it is. Not just when to wake up or go to sleep, but everything. Like when to eat, run, think, and even when your body should grow or rest or fight germs. Every cell in your body has got a tiny clock inside it, and those clocks keep your whole body running on time. But sometimes those clocks break, and when that happens, people can get really sick. Some might have rare diseases, and some might get cancer. And that's where I come in. I'm a chronobiologist, which means I study those body clocks. I'm also a geneticist and a bioinformatician, which is a fancy way of saying I use super smart computers to look at your DNA, the code that makes you, you. I search for tiny changes in that DNA that mess up your body clock. And then I run experiments to see how those changes affect how the body works. I help doctors understand why someone is sick and how to treat them better. So if your body clock's ticking wrong, I'm the scientist who figures out why and tries to help fix it.
Whoa, Tim! There's so much there. So, chronobiology. You mentioned that we've got these little clocks in our cells which are always ticking. The clocks that we use in around our house, they go from seconds to minutes to hours. The clocks that are in our body, what time are they working on?
Oh, well, your body runs on its own time. So very much like an alarm clock that you might have in your house, you have a clock inside your body which ticks over each day and then gets reset. That means that it senses what's happening outside the body. So it senses day and night, it can sense light and dark, but it can carry on ticking without knowing what's going on outside as well.
So, again, the clocks that we have, they are ticking, tick, 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 with normally 3 hands. They might be made of metal, maybe a bit of porcelain if they're fancy and old. What are the clocks in our cells made of? What do we think they look like?
So the clocks in our cells are made up of things called proteins and genes. A gene is something which is a set of instructions. So our DNA, our code which makes us, is made up of genes. And these genes code for proteins, and proteins are the things which do things inside cells. And our body clock is made up of proteins which turn on other proteins, and they form loops. And those loops have got a rhythm of roughly 1 day. So they make up something which works a bit like an hourglass, in that once every 24 hours, so once a day, it gets reset. So we don't have tiny metal hands or porcelain hands like a clock. We've got the biological equivalent. We've got genes and proteins which form feedback loops with each other.
There are normally stages in our life when things happen. We might be 7 years old, 8 years old, then we start to lose our milk teeth, we get adult teeth. When we are a bit older, we go through puberty and stuff changes. Our little clocks in our cells, are they hardwired to say, right, for you, when you're this old, this is what's happening?
So the clocks inside our body are individual to us. So everyone runs on a slightly different time to each other. And we also run at slightly different time at different ages. So when you're a teenager, your body clock starts to run a bit slower. It's one of the reasons why it's quite difficult to wake up in the morning when you're a child. And you might find that grown-ups wake up a lot earlier. And it's because their body clock starts to tell them it's a slightly different time of day.
Now, it sounds like you've got it all sorted. We know what's in our cells, we know how they're ticking over, we know how they might work in relation to our genes. So, as a chronobiologist, what things are we still discovering every day?
Oh, we're only just beginning. So I told you that your clocks are made up of genes and proteins. About 50% of the genes and proteins in your body go up and down each day, so they've got a rhythm. And we don't know what most of them do. We don't know what having a rhythm in the proteins of your body really does for your body. We can just see that they're there. And about half of those proteins, which go up and down each day, which have a rhythm, are associated with things going wrong. So things like disease or with cancer. But we don't know why. We don't know why having a rhythm would affect you getting ill or getting cancer. So at the moment, we're just getting started, really.
And just, I guess, leading on from that, we always finish our Battle of the Sciences in the same way, Tim. Let me throw you forward years and years and years and years to whenever it is that you hang up your chronobiologist lab coat. What's the one question that you really want answered? What do you want to discover?
Oh, well, that is a fantastic question, isn't it? You never know what you're going to discover, but the one thing which I would like to discover is exactly how one of the proteins which makes up your clock can cause cancer, which is a story which we've just started exploring.
Wow. And I'm sure many people would like that to be discovered as well. Chronobiology. How mind-blowing is that? Thank you so much, Dr. Tim Hearn, for telling us why it's the best science. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Earlier on in the show, we heard about lynxes being let out into the wild over in Germany, in the Black Forest, didn't we? Well, we can find out more about wildlife and how they get used to new surroundings and how they're impacted by climate change now with an episode from Marina Ventura, Climate Explorers. Marina is a genius. She knows everything about the world. She's always off on adventures with her trusty map app. And this week, it's all about what we can learn because plants and animals are too affected by climate change. Habitats are affected. It changes the water and the food available, and it can affect whether they survive at all. Let's find out more with Marina.
Marina Ventura's Climate Explorers. Hi there, Marina Ventura here. I love finding out about the natural world, and that includes the Earth's climate. We know that weather can change from one day to the next, but climates can change too over the time span of years, centuries, or even longer. So I'm on a mission to fill MapApp with the latest climate information with the help of some awesome climate explorers. Come on then, let's go. We are lucky that most of us live in comfortable homes and have enough to eat. Just imagine if we didn't. What would we do? Maybe we'd move somewhere else, if we could. But what if we couldn't? Now, other than our pampered pets, animals don't live in houses, but they do have habitats. Places that are safe and comfortable for them to live in with enough sources of food to keep them going. As climates change, these habitats can change too. Isn't that right, Mappy?
It certainly is. Animals and plant life are affected by climate change just as much as humans can be. And whilst most species can cope and adapt with gradual changes, rapid changes and the loss of natural habitats can create challenges for wildlife.
Let's find out more from someone who studies a very interesting animal in a very beautiful place.
Hi, I'm Rose and I'm a conservation scientist. I study animals and the food they eat, and that's something that can change as the climate changes. Changing climates can affect wildlife in lots of ways. Some animals, like frogs and newts, are very sensitive to temperature and may die if their homes become much warmer or colder. A changing climate may affect the vegetation that grows, and this might mean that there isn't enough for the animals to eat, or may mean that animals can't safely nest or build homes. Sometimes the animals might be able to migrate or move to a new habitat, but if not, animals can be short of food and may die out. I work on tropical islands and study the Aldabra giant tortoise, carefully looking at what they eat, so we can understand what we call food webs. What's eating what, or who's eating who.
But there must be a lot of tortoises to study. How on earth do you figure out what they've had for dinner?
It's the poo that tells us what the tortoises had to eat. We look at the plant DNA found in the poo, and this tells us exactly which plants the tortoises have been eating. Food webs can give us information about the effect of climate change on animal populations and how they are changing too.
So, how has the change in climate affected the tortoises?
Well, the island where these tortoises came from originally is called the Aldabra Atoll. It's a place in the Indian Ocean that's at risk of being submerged because of rising sea levels. If this happens, these tortoises could die out. Luckily, some tortoises have been moved by scientists to other islands in the Indian Ocean where different types of tortoises have already become extinct. We're looking at what the tortoises eat in their new homes to see how their presence affects the food web.
Lucky tortoises having you on their side. Thanks, Rose. We share the world with millions of varieties of plants and animals, and all of them are affected by changes in the climate. And we might not think they affect us, but don't forget, humans are part of a food web too.
All this talk of food is making me hungry for an upload.
Ready, Mappy?
Load me up.
You've got more from Marina and her map app. Wherever you're listening to this, just search for Marina Ventura. We've got tons of brilliant podcast series there for you too. They're on Google, Apple and Spotify, and on the free Fun Kids app, wherever you get your shows. I'd love to see you come along to Fun Kids Science Weekly Live. You can get your tickets for our show playing all around the UK right now. Get to funkidslive.com/tour. Now, Fun Kids, we are a children's radio station from the UK. You can listen all around the country, on our app, on our website, and if you've got a smart speaker, wake it up and ask it to play Fun Kids.